Hello, students. Mr. John here with Chapter 22, Lesson 1, Part 1. Split it in half because there was a lot in there. The date today, if you're working on task, on schedule, it will be about March 2nd. Where's my calendar? It should be right about here. All right, let's take a look, shall we? You're going to have a bit of a fun assignment at the end here, something a little different. So today's lesson is essentially a history of science. Tomorrow's two, since I'm breaking it into 2 days. And we've got medieval scientists, we've got Greeks, Romans, and a whole lot of astronomy science. Let's get swifty. Let's take a look. Very sciencey lesson. So science, when you get down to brass tacks, is just the study of the world around us and how it works. By that definition, mankind has been studying science since the first time they stopped to figure anything out. What makes this green stuff grow from the ground? What is this water falling from the sky? Why does this water smell funny and yet taste so yummy? All things they probably asked and discovered. As technology advanced in the simplest of ways, like we talked about way back in Marking Period 1, they were all using science, like agricultural revolution, science, domesticating animals, science, all of that. Better tools, improved farming methods, using the stars to determine where to plant crops, or when to plant crops. These are all the earliest forms of science. Fun little comic here. Now, the Greeks and Romans were a very scientific people, making leaps and bounds in multiple areas. They would develop theories or ideas on how events might play out based on their experiences so far. Their theories did not always turn out to be correct, as they did not always test their theories. For example, the ancient astronomer Ptolemy had a theory that the sun and planets revolved around the Earth. This is called geocentric theory. It's one of our vocab words. Now, after the fall of Rome, science in Western Europe was kind of put on the back burner. It was a very religious time. We learned about most science at the time that had existed in the world was preserved in the libraries of the Middle East, as Arab scholars copied a lot of the works of the Greek classics into their libraries. After the Crusades, when this knowledge was rediscovered by the West, there was a bit of a renewed interest in science. How did the West reconcile the introduction of science with the absolutism of the church? Well, men like Thomas Aquinas argued that you could believe in science and God at the same time, like maybe God was behind the science. Now, it wasn't long before the Age of Exploration that we learned so much about this spread science and knowledge. The whole age of exploration spread a lot of science and knowledge, and universities were beginning to be built. Science was on the up and up. Let's talk about some new ideas about the universe. Around the 1500s, scientists began to realize that math was a big part of science. True story. I see it all the time here. Kids that are good at math are good at science, and kids that are bad at math may struggle a little bit in science. They also figured out that they had to do experiments to prove theories. These profound thoughts led to the scientific revolution. Now, the scientific revolution wasn't violent like this Einstein-Che Guevara pick might indicate, so much as it was the way that people thought about science and the world around them ended up changing. So the first field of science to really embrace the scientific revolution was astronomy. Nicholas Copernicus was a Polish astronomer who wrote a book on the revolution of heavenly spheres. In his book, Copernicus challenged the theory that God had made the Earth the center of the universe, instead going with what's called the heliocentric theory, which said that the Earth and the planets orbited around the sun. The Roman Catholic Church was not pleased with this idea. They thought that was heresy. Johannes Kepler was a German astronomer that used math to support the heliocentric theory, so he's backing up Copernicus. He had some new ideas, though. He said that planetary orbits were oval, like here, aka ellipses, one of your vocab words, and that the speeds of the planets changed throughout the orbit, getting faster as they approached the sun, and then slower as they got further away. And we're speeding up, and we're slowing down, like that. So yeah, big science happening there. Now there's one more fellow I want to mention today. Galileo Galilei was an Italian that made all kinds of astronomical discoveries. He conducted experiments that disproved ideas that were long held as true. For example, Aristotle said that heavier objects fell faster. Wrong, proved Galileo after some experimentation. Like in a vacuum, like a feather with no air resistance will fall just as quickly as a bowling ball. True story. Heavy objects don't fall faster. Galileo also made his own telescope and then used it to back up the heliocentric theory. He also invented the pendulum clock as well as the first barometer to measure air pressure. I have a barometer in my house. It predicts fair or foul weather. Hey, thanks, Galileo. Here's what it looks like. Here's one, like the air pressure, and generally lower pressure is stormy weather, and the higher the pressure gets, the more likely you are to have fair weather. So there you go. We'll pick up with part 2 tomorrow. For today, you have an assignment. Let's have a little fun. Galileo got in big trouble with the church, but the book kind of whitewashes right over that. Doesn't really talk about it, which is no fun at all. And I'm always going to try to give you the real deal. So use your Google machine and tell me, what did Galileo do to anger the church, and how did they punish him? So do a little research. You can use Bing if you want, or DuckDuckGo, whatever you want. Just do a little interwebs research and answer the question, what did Galileo do to inspire the wrath of the church, and how did they punish him? That's it. You can write like a paragraph. That'd be great. That's all for today. We'll pick up with part 2 tomorrow. Have a good one. Let me know if you need me.